Hello!
Hey guys.
We are back to whatever this is.
We haven't even named it yet.
But we ran a marathon
On Sunday
with zero training.
Yep.
We just jumped right into it. And a lot of people are like, why would you do that? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And they're right.
Pretty dumb.
It was dumb. But for as long as Bailey and I have been dating, I've always said that I could run a marathon, no training. And it's kind of just been a joke. And then I thought it'd be a funny video if we did it. So we texted some of our best runners in the gym. And we're like, hey, you want to go see if we could do a marathon?
And some people said yes.
Yeah, so it ended up five of us did a marathon, no training, so 26.2 miles, and just kind of jumped right into it because we thought we could. And yeah, so we just want to talk about it, what our experience was like, how we feel afterwards, if we'd recommend it, and all that. So
Yeah, so let's talk strategy first. What was your strategy going in?
Originally, my strategy was I was going to run a mile, walk a 400, and I was going to just do that the entire time. And then we got out there and the girls were running so fast, it was crazy. So I then felt like I had to run. So I did a mile, then I had to put up the camera. It seemed like I had something to do after each kind of mile, but I kind of did the first 13 miles without a ton of stopping. But by the time we got to 13, me and Tanner, the guy I ran with, we were behind the girls by like...
You're behind me by about 2.5 miles at least.
About 1.5 miles. So we were behind. We didn't really walk much the first half, but we were taking breaks. We went to pee, like we were getting Powerades. We were trying to stay really hydrated, like over the top, because we didn't know what it was gonna feel like once you got past that second hour. I've never worked out for 2 hours. So that's what I was kind of living for and trying to take more breaks in the beginning for that.
Yeah.
What was your strategy?
So my strategy at the very beginning was to run a 400 or run an 800, walk a 400, and then also refuel and drink electrolytes about every hour is kind of what was recommended to me. I literally went to the run store and I was like, hey, I'm running a marathon tomorrow. And they're like, oh my gosh, how was your training? I was like, I've had zero training. And they were like, that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. But they loaded me up with goo and, I read all the things. So that was kind of my plan. But when I got to the race, I ran the first mile and I was like, oh, you could probably keep going. And I got to a 5K and then I got to 12 miles, which was the most I had ever ran. I had trained for a half marathon before. We were gonna race back in 2018. And now I know I would have definitely kicked your ass had we got to run the race, but it got rained out. So after the 12-mile mark, which is the most I'd ever ran, I was like, hey, what's 1.1 miles? Then you can say you ran a half marathon. So I got to that point and I was running on adrenaline at that point, and so I think it kept me going for a few more miles. So I was able to run 16 miles without stopping, which felt really, really cool. But at mile 16 is when I actually hit a huge wall. And so after that, I ran a mile and then walked a 400. And then the original plan was for us to actually only run for 4 hours and 30 minutes because that was the max, or that was the average marathon time. And I told myself I was shooting for 18 miles and I got to 20 in that amount of time. And that's when I decided what's 6 more? And so after I got to mile 20 is when things really started to break down for me. So I had to run a 300 and then I walked to run a 100 because we did it on a track, which was also another psycho thing that we did.
Yeah, the track was tough, for sure.
So the goos I thought were disgusting. I immediately put them in my stomach and thought that I was gonna throw up. So I thought that, refueling every hour, I would much rather just have a couple pieces of candy and some electrolytes. And so that was my strategy.
Yeah, I kind of liked the goos. There were a couple goos that were good, but then they would instantly make me feel like I was about to shit my pants for 3 minutes, but then it would go away. So I guess it's working. I don't know. Maybe it just needs to get into your system aggressively. I don't know. But yeah, the goos were weird, but I really never felt too tired. At the end of the race, or at the end of the run, I was exhausted and felt terrible. I'd never felt like that before. It was so bad. And then I haven't had a real Coke in a really long time, and we had one in our fridge because some of my family likes it, so we had it. We really don't drink them much. But I drank one of those and I was instantly better. I feel a little bit better. But yeah, so that was kind of our strategy.
It was crazy too how much of a difference the electrolytes made me feel after I had electrolytes, and how much that candy, that quick sugar, it actually did make me feel better.
Yeah, I felt good. It was weird, the whole time my lungs felt good. It was only my like knees, my joints, my feet.
Same.
That is what was really painful, but my lungs really felt good until like mile 20. And then towards mile 20, the wind was like really picking up. It was getting kind of dusty out there. And then it started to not feel quite as good, and it was hard to take deep breaths for sure. But my heart rate was always pretty low, like the whole time. It was never very high.
I was actually shocked at how easy it was to breathe and how good my lungs and my heart felt. I don't know why I expected it to feel worse.
Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, that was really weird. Okay, what about like CrossFit translating? We kind of talked a little bit about this, how you kind of felt bad because you're like, man, I don't want to diss anybody that's trained for a marathon because it's hard work, but.
Yeah, it was, once we were done, I don't know, I didn't feel very happy, and I also just felt like I disrespected people who had trained for it, because like these people put in 6 months or whatever the training is, 3 months, to get ready for this marathon. And so just doing it with no training did feel a little bit like disrespectful. But then Bailey made a really good point to me that's like, dude, for the last 12 years of your life, you've been doing CrossFit, you've been working really, really hard, you've been doing intense training. There's really never been a time in the 12 years that I've owned this gym, or since I've finished high school, that I have let myself get out of shape. And I've always been not just in shape, I've been in really good shape. And so I think that is a testament to CrossFit. Like, one, the mindset that you can do something that's probably a little bit, feels like it's outside of your ability. You can do it. And then also like how good of shape doing 1 to 2 hours a day of like high intensity exercise is really, really good for you. A lot of people shit on CrossFit, but like, I mean, to be able to do that the day before,
26.2 miles.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And the day before, this isn't like, I'm not a great weightlifter, but I did like a 260-pound clean and jerk. And then the next day we come out here and do 26.2 miles. So the all-around fitness is really amazing that you can get from CrossFit. I'm not great at anything, but the ability to do everything is really cool that CrossFit has for you. And the mentality, like, I've just always had the mentality because I felt tough from all the hard things I've done. I was like, I can do this. And I think CrossFit ingrains that in you. So she explained that to me, and it made me feel better. It made me feel like less of a piece of shit about like doing this without any training. Like, we're not trying to shit on anybody. It's amazing. If anything, I actually have more respect for people who have done marathons now that I've done one. In the past, people have been like, hey, I've done a marathon. I'm like, cool.
I totally know what that takes.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
But then when you've done one, now when someone tells me they've done a marathon, I'm gonna be like, oh dang, bro, that shit sucks. Like, congrats. Like, that's really, really hard.
And it also requires a lot of like mental toughness to be able to get through that.
For sure.
Yeah, mad respect.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, I think that was really cool. And I think CrossFit let us be able to do that. If it wasn't for CrossFit training, we wouldn't, I don't know. I don't think that we could have done it if I hadn't been doing CrossFit for the past 12 years. And that's a testament to CrossFit for sure.
I think CrossFit, it's a testament to CrossFit, what it can do for people physically, like the true power of progressive overload and like constantly challenging yourself. Thinking about like us challenging ourselves for the last 12 years is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And like, there's always something that we can do to improve on. Like, we've been doing this for a really long time, and I still have so much that I can improve on. And I think that's the beauty of CrossFit and the mental fortitude that it gives you. That's also something that I realized even after finishing. Like, the next day I was like, man, like, I just did something that 1% of the population statistically can do, and I have been really selling myself short on a lot of my workouts and on my relationships and on my life, because I'm capable of so much more than I'm currently doing. And I think running that showed me that. Like, I'm leaving a lot on the table in life.
Well, that's cool. And that's what's cool about a challenge. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around why people would want to do marathons, honestly, because it's insane. But what was cool is just like, one of our members came and did it, and she texted me afterwards. She ran 17 miles that day, and she'd been doing CrossFit for 2 years with us now. She texted me, she's like, hey, thank you so much. Like, what CrossFit has done for me, there's no way I could have done that 2 years ago. And so one, that's a testament to CrossFit, but also just challenging yourself with difficult things. I'm not condoning people to go out to do a CrossFit or a marathon. Like it was not very smart, but I definitely think you should go challenge yourself and do things that are challenging, that are uncomfortable, because like you will surprise yourself. And so a lot of the people in the gym be like, dude, there's no way I could have ever done that. And actually, I'm like, I think you would surprise yourself how far you would have gone with some friends and a proper challenge. So yeah, I think it's really cool. And I think we're capable of so much more than we think we are.
Yeah.
And you just have to learn how to pull that out of you. And it can be really difficult and it fucking hurts. But when you do it, it's really cool. Like I'm happy it's done and I'm happy I did it. And I can always say to people like, yeah, I've done one.
Yeah. It was definitely the hardest thing I've ever done to this date, for sure.
It was tough.
How did you feel after? So like, I bet a lot of people are curious about how we felt the days following.
Yeah, so right after again, so my brother-in-law did one and he said as soon as he was done, he had burst into tears. And when I was done, I felt defeated and I didn't feel happy. And I was like, that was stupid. And so I think, like I was thinking about it a lot, and I think a lot of the power of like feeling happy about doing a marathon is in the training. And like you train for so long and it's such a huge part of your life that when it all kind of comes together, like for this final product that is the marathon, I think it feels really good. So I didn't feel that. I didn't feel joy. I actually kind of like, it hurt so bad that I felt like the people who told me I couldn't do it were right. Even though I did it, like I did it, but I still felt like they were right. I shouldn't have done something like that, even though I did it. So that was one feeling that I had. And then I felt terrible right afterwards. Then I had the Coke, and then we went to Perry's and had like a huge pizza and we had wings and we had appetizers. So we ate like a ton. So that was really nice. But the next day I woke up and I was exhausted.
You're missing a crucial part. We did go to bed at like 7 p.m.
We did go to bed at 7. Yeah, I was exhausted. It was really tiring. But yeah, so I woke up and we like kind of canceled all of our plans for Monday because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel. And I felt like I was hungover. Like I felt like I had blacked out the night before. I had a pounding headache and
no energy.
No energy. I was exhausted. And when I looked in the mirror, my eyes were like swollen. I looked like shit. And I was like, what happened to me? So I got up at like 2. I finally came and did an elements class here, like worked with somebody. Tried to work for like 2 hours, and then I went back to bed again, took ibuprofen, and then finally around like 6 o'clock, I ate like a really big steak, and I finally felt better, but I still went to bed at like 8:30 that night. So Tuesday, all better. My legs actually don't really hurt at all. I've got one little pain in my foot, but my hips and knees, everything's totally fine. And today I actually hit another workout. I had a workout yesterday, like just upper body, and today I had a workout and I felt really, really good. I dialed it back purposely, but I feel great. Like I don't feel like I did a marathon, which is pretty cool.
It's funny, I feel like you and I almost felt opposite. So the following day, I did go to bed at 7 p.m. on Sunday night as well. But waking up, my energy felt really good. Like I didn't feel like I needed to continue to sleep. After about like 11 o'clock in the morning, I felt like myself finally. But I felt like my legs, specifically like my hamstrings and calves, everything like posterior chain, I felt like I got hit by a bus, basically. My legs have never felt like that before, ever. And so that was Monday. But it's funny, I didn't have a headache and I didn't have low energy. And then yesterday I felt a little bit better. My legs felt like I had done a crazy leg workout. And then today, my muscles feel completely normal, but my knees are a little bit sore. So I think I'm gonna have to take it easy for probably a week to give my knees time to rest. I do plan on hitting an arm workout today and then getting back to my regular workout routine tomorrow because the open is Friday.
The open's Friday, so that was pretty poor timing doing a marathon right before the open.
Terrible timing.
But honestly, I feel like I'm okay. Trying to give my legs some rest, but yeah, it was kind of dumb timing for sure. We should have done it at a different time. And I told Bailey that probably 10 times. Like, hey, let's do it a different time so we can still perform well in the open. But, you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if but yeah, so that's kind of our experience with it. Yeah.
Don't try this at home, I guess.
I definitely wouldn't recommend it. It wasn't the smartest thing. I actually think it was the dumbest thing that I've ever done.
Me too.
But I'm glad I did it.
I am glad I did it too.
I'm not here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. And that's pretty cool. So I might have taken a couple of years off my knees, but
The shock, I was about to say, we probably did do that as well. But
we did buy new running shoes. So we did actually, that was the one thing we did is actually went to go buy running shoes. We didn't break them in, but we did just kind of jump out in them. And they were lifesavers actually. If I would have used my actual CrossFit shoes, no, it would have been a disaster.
It would have definitely been a disaster. I didn't get any blisters on my feet. I got to keep all 10 toenails, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people tell me that I was going to lose toenails. And apparently it's like the 8th deadly sin to run a marathon without breaking in your shoes.
Fuck them. But I did always think it was like a government conspiracy that like everyone was like, don't run a marathon because like it's too hard, it's going to be dangerous. But I'm like, actually it's pretty hard. I wouldn't recommend that people do that. So
it is super hard. But
well, that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all the information that we have on running this marathon, and we thought we would post this because this is something I would watch. I would be curious to see what CrossFitters, their thoughts after running a marathon.
Yeah.
We
just like talking to the camera, so.
Okay,
Well,
see you
guys
next time.